Ladies and gentlemen, one of the things I love about having a podcast network is that there's no boundaries. There's nothing that sort of keeps you inside a specific square. And this episode of what is the Westwood Living podcast reaches far beyond Westwood and actually to the gateway to the West, to St. Louis, Missouri. And I'm so pleased to be with a friend of mine, Jennifer Cobb. How are you? It is good to see you. It's been 5 years since I've seen you in person.
It's, time goes by so fast, and we're always so busy, and I'm so happy to be here in your hometown, Boston. New England Patriots are hosting the NFL Alumni Cheerleading Reunion with 800 NFL cheerleaders from years and years ago, back even in the 50s and 60s. We actually have our first Dallas Cowboy cheerleader ever that is making her appearance here today.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So we're in the Park Plaza, right in downtown Boston, and I have been obviously paying attention because of the people I know here locally who are former Patriots cheerleaders. And, of course, I know you. And I remember it was 2 years ago, my friend Paula McDonald, and you finally got a chance to meet. Where was it 2 years ago? Because this is every other year, right? You get together.
Yeah, we were at Jacksonville.
Okay, so
Florida.
It was so cute to get the photo from the I remember exactly where I was.
I know.
I was driving up to New Hampshire, and I was like, oh, my God, you got to find Paula McDonald. And they're like, Paula, you got to find Jennifer Cobb. Okay,
and we did, and we took a photo.
Yeah,
we
it's
sent
awesome.
it to you.
I've still
Hi,
got it.
Sam, we're thinking of you. I know.
So cool. So I know that Paula has been working so hard with so many of her colleagues to get this up and operational for this weekend. So have a great time. But what brings us together to talk here is a pretty serious topic, because when we first met, which was also a very random story, goes back 5 years ago when the Bruins were in the Stanley Cup final against the Blues, and you live in St. Louis. And for some reason, LinkedIn suggested that we connect. Like, hey, you have some similar interests here. Right. It's one of those testaments to how LinkedIn can connect you with some pretty cool people. And so we connected, and we talked a little bit about some of the charity work that I was involved with, and you shared with me some of the things that you had done over the course of your career. And Team Gateway to a Cure is really your bread and butter. So let's start there, and then we'll talk specifically about an unbelievable production that you've undertaken with Tom House, who many of us know as the quarterback guru who worked with Tom Brady and so many other people. So a lot of places to go, but we need to set the groundwork and set the foundation. So tell people what Gateway to a Cure is and what it means to you.
Yeah, so Team Gateway to a Cure, I started in 2016 when my father was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and as an NFL alumni cheerleader with the Rams, what I wanted to do was step off the field and use my platform to raise awareness, not just for research for Parkinson's and other neurological disorders, but really shed light, educating the caregiver, the one that's behind the scenes, that are caring for their loved ones in the home. And so I reached out to the Michael J. Fox Foundation and also partnered up with Muhammad Ali Parkinson's Foundation, which I've met with his widow, Lonnie, who's a sweetheart, and collaborated efforts. Most people don't know that Muhammad's legacy really stands for the caregivers. His foundation focuses on how to educate and support the caregiver in the home. And so it's interesting that when I went out there and got an inside look at their facility, their lab, I guess you can call it, looks like the inside of a home. It's a place where caregivers go to train on how to care for their loved one who has Parkinson's or other neurological disorders.
Well, we should set the stage that unfortunately we've lost your dad.
Yes.
And 5 years ago he was still alive, but you were very much a caretaker. So you were living this world, and you understood the challenges, the pressures, the stress, the anxiety that comes along with it.
Right.
So I understand why you jumped in this and why it was so personally appealing to you to try to come up with a way to make it easier for caregivers. So what have you learned in that 5-year period, having gone through being a caretaker yourself?
Yeah, so as an adult child caring for my dad, it breaks my heart because I still look at him as if I'm 16 years old and he's my hero of my eyes. And watching the degeneration of what Parkinson's is doing, you just often want to just bring him back to where he used to be, and you can't. So how do you meet the person where they're at and still love and care for them while they're going through this battle of this disease? And then you see your mother, who is his wife, who all of a sudden automatically takes on this caregiver role where she's the nurse, the doctor, the maid, the cook, the Uber driver, like has to do everything, drive him to and from his med appointments, has to cook and clean, and often she forgets what her role is. That's his wife. And so the caregiver now is being seen as the second patient from insurance companies, and they're recognizing them through financial hardship and anxiety and depression. And so at the end of the day, who's caring for the caregiver in the home when their loved one is going through whatever the disease it is?
So 5 years ago, as we sat across a dinner table from each other, you said, I'm going to make a movie. And I was like, oh, that's big dream. But good for you, right? I'm a big fan of people who have big dreams. And here we are 5 years later, and you have a production pretty much in the can. And the production went down probably a different channel than you might have expected initially. But a lot of things changed in those 5 years. And most notably, it became public that Tom House, who, again, many of us know is the person who Tom Brady worked so closely with to develop his quarterback skills, and a coach who worked with so many other NFL quarterbacks over decades, he himself was diagnosed with Parkinson's. So let's set the stage of how you met him and how this movie evolved.
So the director, Tim Brybeck, reached out to me as an NFL cheerleader coming off the field and having a father who has Parkinson's, and the perspective of what I went through in my life as a daughter caring for my dad, what I go through. They felt that it would make a really great synergy on camera as the daughter character, if you can, may I say that, with Tom on screen. So when Tom and I are on camera together, and we film these scenes, it really shows what a father-daughter relationship is like and how he emotionally breaks down a lot with me, whereas he wouldn't be able to break down when he's talking with Drew Brees or Tim Tebow or Randy Johnson or Tom Brady or one of those guys on camera. And so the emotional hold that Parkinson's takes on someone, I don't really think you understand how devastating it is. You have to understand that Tom House was that guru. He was the one that Tom Brady calls at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, no matter what, just out of the blue. Drew Brees will call when he hurt his shoulder those years and rehabbed him for 9 months to get his arm back and ended up back on the field and, cranking up those numbers. That's how we see Tom House. So to see him in that light talking to me in a very vulnerable moment.
That's the key word. I was just going to say it's about vulnerability.
It's a vulnerable moment that Parkinson's is just breaking him. And it just tears him down, and my dad wasn't a Tom House, but my dad was that hero in my eyes that always made the plays. He always knew what to do and what to say, and there was a time where he couldn't do it anymore, and he relied on the caregivers in the house to have his back and to give him that strength. Because when you're in that vulnerable spot, there's a thing called dignity that starts to degenerate. You start to lose your dignity when you get your car keys taken away. You can't drive anymore. You can't pull out your wallet and go to the bank and give, you don't have any money in your wallet because you can't go to the bank and, anyone asks, hey, Dad, do you have $5-10, You can't help in the kitchen anymore because of the dyskinesia or the tremors and the shuffling of the step. His gait is off, and he can't hold his fork, and he can't feed himself, and eventually he's in a diaper because he can't make it to the bathroom in time, and he's waiting for someone else to help shower him. There's a moment in a man's life or anyone's life that you have this dignity, and when you lose that, it breaks that down.
Devastating. And you've lived it firsthand, and you're now trying to be so helpful, and you're doing it in such a positive way because go to your Instagram account, and all of a sudden you see a post on your story that says, just finished shooting with Drew Brees. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. All right,
Yeah.
all right. I guess things are going okay. So obviously you got a lot of cooperation from some of the biggest names.
Yeah.
And it seems that when you did reach out to folks like Drew Brees, even Tom Brady's going to make an appearance in this, what sort of reaction did you get from them? And when you engaged with them personally, what was your experience and takeaway?
Well, the greatest takeaway was they see Tom as a father figure, a coach that helped guide them through their career to get them to where they're at. Now when you full speed ahead, you full circle around, they're now helping Tom. And Tom is in a vulnerable spot because he's needing, it's kind of like locker room talk. You know, when you ask any NFL football player what they miss the most, it's not the field time. It's not catching those balls. It's locker room time.
Yeah, it's
the camaraderie in the locker room, the goofiness, the jokes, the playing, jokes on each other and the laughter. That's what Tom misses. So when he's around these guys and they come around to film this movie to shed light on neurological disorders and all the treatments that are out there from all over the world that he's exposing, it makes him feel current, relevant. That vulnerability starts to go away. He feels that dignity is still there, and he feels included.
Let's talk timeline. You can't really hold you to a schedule, but what's your understanding of what the next few steps are here? And it's called House of Arms, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
so
so walk us through what comes next.
So last name Tom House, Arms, quarterback, Major League Baseball. Randy Johnson, Nolan Ryan. He, Tom actually was a baseball pitcher. He wasn't the best, but now he coaches the best. So now we're in post-production, and what we are going to do is we're going to unveil a 12-minute trailer here in Boston this fall at the New Balance Stadium. That's what I was told.
That's great.
Yeah, and it's going to be an amazing red carpet event. And
when do we know? When is this?
I know it's going to be this fall.
Okay, but we don't know a date yet.
I know. It'll be late fall, early winter.
That's great.
Yeah, and what it amounts to is that it'll be a 12-minute trailer. We're having music being produced for it. The director is actually talking to a number of different actors. I can't really say who yet, but there's a few actors that they've reached out to do some of the voiceover on the documentary. And of course, all the people in the movie will be a part of the trailer viewing.
Well,
so it's going to be really special.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hopefully I have nothing going on that night because I'll be there for sure.
Yes.
That'll be a lot of fun. I can't believe you just said that's going to be in Boston. By the way, Tom, we're coming back.
Yes.
That'll be great. That'll be fantastic. What else do people... How can they follow you? What's the way that they can sort of get on board?
teamgatewaytoacure.org is my website, and I have all my links on there. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everything.
Got it.
teamgatewaytoacure.org.
Beautiful. And then, of course, follow Jen on Insta, and you'll have pop up on your feed these really cool images of, just finished filming with Drew Brees, or I'm sure what's coming next is, we're in post-production and it's all coming together. And of course you'll get the most up-to-date information about this 12-minute premiere, which will be right here in Boston.
There's over 1 million people that are diagnosed with Parkinson's every year that we know of. And if you have symptoms and you have questions, I think it's really important that you go to your neurological doctor, not just a general practitioner. A general practitioner will just check a box. You make an appointment, get a consult to go see a neurologist and actually have a brain scan, not just a paper that checks box scan, a brain scan to find out what kind of Parkinson's you actually have. The earlier you get diagnosed, the better your treatments and the better you'll be able to treat those symptoms. I know many people have seen Michael J. Fox's movie that just came out.
Phenomenal.
And it's heartbreaking, but not everyone has that severity of Parkinson's. Mm-hmm. The Parkinsonian community is large. There's just different types of Parkinson's out there. So it's really important, if I can send that message to the listeners out there, is to please be diligent, go out and see a neurologist, not a general practitioner. If you have any symptoms or questions about Parkinson's. The other thing I want to say is please go get your DNA tested. Mom gives you a strand of DNA and dad gives you a strand of DNA. We all have DNA that we're born with. It's a simple swab. You can swab your nostrils or your mouth. It goes to a lab 2 weeks later. It gives you all of your methylation breaks. When you know what your methylation breaks are, you supplement for those breaks. Not just a pure supplement, just a supplement. Like I'm supplementing. If you don't know what your methylation breaks are, you won't have any benefit from any of the supplements that you take. And the supplements that you take have to be in a methylated form. Methylated means broken down to the simplest form where your body knows how to process it. So DNA testing and get on methylated vitamins. Do those two things. And my background is dietetics. I promise you, if any neurological diseases or cancers or any ailments that you have in your DNA, that will be incredibly helpful.
Incredible information. And obviously what we've talked about is very serious, but I'm not letting you get out of here without asking a couple questions about your experience in St. Louis with the Rams. So when were you with the Rams?
So inaugural season when Mrs. Frontieri brought him from LA to St. Louis, she was holding open call auditions, and I walked into the room.
So this is 95, right?
This is 95,
yeah.
And I thought, there is no way I'm going to make this team. These thousands of beautiful dancers, and I walk in, I'm like, you know what, good for me. If I walk out of here with a friend and have a good time, I'm winning. So I walk in and I look for the most amazing, accomplished dancer, and to this day, I'm still friends with her. Her name is Megan Toole, and I stood by her and I told her I wanted her to critique me, cut me down, dissect every move, and tell me and be the most critical judge before I go before the judges to try out. And after countless cuts, I was actually one of the 40 that made the team. And this is such a great story, Tom, because the selection process in the NFL is the exact same. You can have the fastest 40-yard all day long, and you can be faster than anyone, catch the most balls, and you can be the hardest worker. But you will not make the team if you can't lead, if you're not coachable, if you don't know how to hold yourself accountable off and on the field, because forever you will be a brand ambassador. You will forever hold that legacy as an ambassador of that company, that business, that brand. And that, to me, speaks volumes to the selection process, not just with the players, but the cheerleaders too. And I know that the Dallas Sweethearts are number one on Netflix right now. and I'm going to tell you, I get this question asked a lot with me is it really like that? Yes, it is. Because they take this job very seriously. And they groom you from the minute they say you're hired to the minute they say you're fired. You're no longer. You have to try that position out every single year, and there's always someone right behind you that's hunting you down for that same position.
Super competitive.
Just like, for instance, Mac Jones.
Yep.
What happened with him? Mm-hmm. He was number one pick from Alabama, number one quarterback with the Patriots, got traded to Florida. Now someone else came up. I'm not saying Mac's a great guy. I'm friends with him. He's a good friend. He's a great quarterback. But there's always someone hunting for your job. And so the selection process continues until you retire.
So how many years were you on the squad?
So inaugural season, just the Super Bowl year.
Okay, so did you go down to
Good
New Orleans?
Nashville.
Oh, you went to Atlanta, actually, right?
Yeah,
right.
Atlanta.
Crazy. What's it like in St. Louis? Because I'm assuming you probably grew up a Cardinal fan, right? I mean, before the Cardinals moved to Arizona, or no, where are you from?
Chicago.
Oh, okay. When did you move to St. Louis?
So I went to Chicago, born and raised in Chicago, and then went to Carbondale, SIU Carbondale, go Salukis, and I cheered for them all 4 years, football and basketball.
It's an Egyptian racing dog.
Yes, it is. Skinny little thing. But then after that, I moved to St. Louis, landed a job at Cardinal Glennon Children's Hospital as a dietitian, and then I was actually on my way home from work one day, and I heard that Georgia was hosting open call auditions, and I'm like, okay, I'll try it out.
Why not?
I'm not a great dancer, but I'm coachable.
So is there still a little pocket of people in St. Louis who kind of follow the Rams, root for the Rams? Because obviously they went back to L.A. almost 10 years ago now, right?
Yeah, Isaac
But they had that 20-year period. Yeah, you've got people.
Isaac
they
comes
won the Super
back
Bowl.
every year. Yeah, Isaac comes back every year. I'm real involved in some of his charitable organizations and the things that he's doing in the city, which is really great. And he does a lot of great things for the city and the cheerleaders too. With my foundation, I do some fundraising, golf events, and 5Ks, and they're still giving back to the community, which is great to be involved. But better than all of that is the camaraderie is what we all miss. We love getting together and hanging out and reminiscing about those days on the field.
And that's what this weekend's going to be all about. So have a great time.
Thank you so much.
And I'm glad we got a chance to reconnect. That's Jennifer Cobb, Team Gateway to a Cure, and clearly she'll be back in the fall, so I'll keep you up to speed with when that premiere is going to be shown at New Balance, which should be a lot of fun. So once again, thanks very much. As always, if there's somebody else you want me to have a conversation with, just reach out, send me an email to tleiden@bestversionmedia.com. I'll find that person, track them down, have a conversation, and then share it with you right here on the Westwood Living Podcast Network. But we've broadened our horizons, broadened our boundaries a bit for this one, and we appreciate listening. Have a great day.